Hey, everybody, welcome to this episode of Think Business Live. Looking forward to having Jeff Fenster back. Jeff, it's great to connect with you. I'm looking forward to talking about your book that just came out. You're the founder and CEO of Everbowl, just a dynamic entrepreneur, named one of the top 100 entrepreneurs in America under the age of 35, a top 40 executive under 40 for the Business Journal, founder of a great company, Everbowl, which we talked about. Host of the Jeff Fenster Show and author of Relationship Bank Accounts, How to Make Friends, Have Fun, and Attract Lifelong Success. Congratulations on the book. I was excited to see it on social and excited to have you on the show and chat about it. You know, this podcast, we have a kind of a newer segment where we kind of kick off before we dive into the book. Because as a business coach working with people who are stuck and get them unstuck, I always like to ask people, where's your recent stuck and how did you get over it?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, my stuck, well, a few of them, but number one was actually the confidence to release this book.
Yeah.
I had a lot of reservations, more than just the normal stuff, because what's funny specifically for my book is, you know, I've used relationship capital to grow all my businesses and be successful in different areas and build a lot of great friendships. But I had never asked my network to spend any money or support me financially, like in this context. And so to release a book on Relationship Bank Account and then hope that the world supports you and that network supports you to make it a bestseller. If they didn't, what does that say about my network and my thoughts on it? So there was a lot of anxiety and a lot of apprehension prior to launching the book. Never been an author, never thought about being an author. So that was my big stuck. And it took a lot of pushing from my circle and sphere of confidants to help me get through it, my mentors and my coaches. And so that was my most recent big stuck.
Yeah, that's a big one. I appreciate you sharing that. What was kind of the final piece of courage within you? Because I always find, people are committed to something, and then it's just the courage that, what's that one extra piece of courage that you needed to kind of say, okay, let's go to the press?
It was one of my mentors said, Jeff, you're very clear on your core values, and one of them is taking immediate decisive action. And he said, you're not living your own core value at this point because you've written the book, you've reached out to your network to get the feedback to get into the book, you've told the world you're writing the book, but now you're not publishing it because of this fear. And it was that last little bit of, hey, sometimes we need to be reminded about what we stand for and what our core values are. And so, it's their core values. They're not, you try to live by them, but that's not always a guarantee. And so it was a little bit of that, hey, Jeff, here's a mirror, practice what you preach. This is your time to lean into it. And so I said, you know what, you're right. Let's do it. And let's put it out there and go full force.
Good. I love it. Well, congrats. I'm glad you did.
Thank
you.
All
right, let's talk about the book. The foundation, the through line is building relationship capital. Again, the name of the book that can be found on Amazon, Relationship Bank Account, How to Make Friends. Perfect. Have fun and attract lifelong success. All right. So walk us through some of the highlights of the book. The reader is going to extract what?
Sure. So the reader is going to extract a pretty clear and easy to understand method and process to build those relationships. A lot of people say, hey, I don't have this big network. How do you have this network? How do you do it? I don't think I know anybody, or I'm not exposed to these types of humans. And the book's going to share the ways you can use the network you have today, the people you interact with today on a daily basis, to begin to build that relationship capital, to begin to build that wealth in your relationship bank accounts with so many humans. And I give all these examples of how I've done it over the last 40 years and what you think you don't, how situations that you don't think can create these kinds of opportunities do. I give examples, very clear, specific examples. And it's also, certain elements that I think people know, but they just need to hear in a much more easier to digest way. I try to make it very simple, simple enough for a high school or college aged individual to read, digest, and understand and apply. So it's not complicated. These aren't extremely complex strategies. They're very simple, but they're explained in a manner which everyone should be able to implement.
Yeah. Can you give some examples just so people can kind of walk away with a couple today?
Yeah, of course. So the first one is always leading with value. You know, when you meet somebody, most people think they have to impress. And so instead of impressing the individual that you just met, try to actually leave them liking you. And the way you do that is think about a date. When you go out on a date, if someone only talks about themselves, you leave and you go, okay, that person only talked about themselves. So people like to talk about themselves. So when you meet somebody, ask them questions, get them talking about themselves. They're going to really enjoy that conversation with you. You're going to learn a lot about them. They're going to think you're an incredible listener and a great human being. And from that, if you ask the good questions, stuff like, what are some of the challenges you're dealing with today? And as I'm listening and observing you, I can then say, who do I know and what can I do to help and leave some value for John? So maybe you're mentioning, hey, I'm trying to get in front of so-and-so. I might not know so-and-so, but I might know somebody who knows so-and-so, or I might know somebody who knows how to do something you're working on. So I try to ask a lot of questions. And so by asking a lot of questions, you can lead with value and say, who do I know who I can introduce to this person? What do I know that I can add value to something they're doing? Or can I donate my time? Or can I make a suggestion or a recommendation? And so the one of the key things to do with relationships is always ask good questions and be more interested in them than just trying to basically data dump who you are and what you've done.
Yeah. I always find that I always love the line, the person who asks the question controls the conversation. And I love the Coveyism that you're kind of talking around. It's better to be interested than interesting. And so let's talk about questions for a little bit, because I think sometimes people default to the monologue versus the dialogue. And I think that gets leaders. I think it gets, I see as I coach leaders or managers or salespeople, and it doesn't matter what size company, they kind of fall into the, excuse me, they fall into the monologue.
Yep.
And so let's kind of talk about the preparation of how to even get yourself into the mindset of asking questions.
Yeah. I mean, it starts with being an avid learner, number one, because to understand concepts and understand more information allows you to start asking better questions. But in that same context, it's understanding who's in front of you, right? Like if I'm in front of, it's very, the types of questions you want to ask are going to be specific to the audience that you're around. But we go through life and we usually have our heads down because we do this terrible exercise of quantifying the individual in front of us to say, who are they and do they add value to my life? Mm-hmm. And so we immediately say, oh, this checkout clerk at the grocery store is just a checkout clerk at the grocery store. They can't help me in my business, so I'm not going to engage in conversation. They walk up and they see someone who's dressed in a suit coming out of a Ferrari, and they're probably thinking, let me talk to this individual. But there's a couple mistakes there. Number one, the checkout clerk at Albertsons or Ralph's or Vaughn's or pick your grocery store, they're somebody's brother, sister, cousin, aunt, uncle, mother, father. So they have a sphere and an influence and a network, and they may be the exact person you want to connect with. And I tell a story in my book about my payroll business, and I had just started it in 2008. This was 2009. I was growing, and I was doing about 400 to 500,000 in revenue, and I was picking up these small clients. And I made friends with the checkout clerk at Albertsons because I went to the grocery store once a week. And when I say friends, we didn't go out for drinks and food, but I didn't just look at my phone as I was and give the traditional monologue of, hey, how are you? Have a nice day. But I got to know them. I just said, hey, how are you? What's going on in your life? I learned that she had a daughter. She knew that I had a daughter. She knew that I had a business. We had this just cordial little 3 to 5 minute interaction once or twice a week. That was a little bit deeper. Well, lo and behold, 18 months later, she says to me, hey, Jeff, you have a payroll business. My brother's having an issue. Can I give him your number? And I was thinking I was doing her a favor. And I said, yes. And it turns out her brother's business had over 1,000 employees and was a 6-figure a year contract for my payroll business. And it instrumentally changed the entire foundation of my company. So we weren't just focusing on small businesses, but now we had our first mid-market client. And so what I thought I was doing someone just a little favor, and it was going to be a 1 or 2 off little company, ended up being my biggest client at that time and changed my entire business because I made friends with a human being that I didn't have a quantifiable value. Yeah. But I had this approach of making friends with as many human beings as I can. Yeah. And so the caliber of question is going to be dictated to the individual, going back to your question, John. But it's how you quantify those questions, how you get into that mindset, and what you're really thinking about is not what's in it for me, but what can I do and what really lights them up?
Yeah.
What's inspiring to them that I can start asking them questions about?
Yeah.
Like, just a quick purview, but if they have a child, everyone likes to talk about their children. If they're in their place of business, obviously they're interested in talking about their business. What they're wearing tells you a lot of stuff. If they're wearing jerseys of a sports team, you can obviously engage in that as an initial conversation point. But you want to start the monologue and quickly get into the dialogue and get into something that is going to light them up. And you'll know when you do because you'll see their facial expressions.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that story for a lot of reasons, Jeff. I appreciate you sharing it. But to me, there's also just kind of a through line of just being a kind human being. And a lot of it starts with, taking, I feel like so many people are rushing through the day. I had, and they're just not paying attention. And, in your example, the 4-minute conversations, whether it's a 1-minute conversation and just kind of being aware that of being kind and saying hello and thank you and getting to know people that, my parents raised me that you can always learn something from somebody younger and older than you. I just interviewed 12 kids, young adults from the University of Michigan. They're all 17 to 19 in the entrepreneurial club. And I mean, I loved it because I learned so much from them. But I love the whole storyline of just kindness and getting to know people.
Well, and people want to help each other.
Yeah.
I mean, when you think about that, there's 8 billion people on the planet.
Yeah.
And the majority of us know by name 300, and we're probably acquaintances with 100, and we're probably close with 50 or 30. So if you can add another champion out of those 8 billion people who care about you, love you, and know about you, and can go out into the world and say, I know that John's a business coach, and I might meet a stranger tomorrow that I get hearing that they have a problem. And then immediately I go, John would be a great connection for them.
Yeah.
The more of me's that are doing that for you, the bigger and faster your business is going to grow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Same thing for me with everbowl or WeBuild or any of my companies.
Yeah.
And it's the same for all of us.
Yeah.
And so while it feels very selfish to say, hey, I'm building these relationships so people are going to help me, you're leading with value. So you're being selfless and selfish at the same time. But that's what relationships are about. It's give and take.
Yeah.
And in order to take, you have to give. And so the name of my book is Relationship Bank Account, because when you start to think about relationships like we do our checking account, which is if you're always making withdrawals out of your checking account, you go broke. If you spend more than you make, you go broke, or you live paycheck to paycheck, which is how most of us are with relationships. But when you make a habit of making deposits with as many humans as you can and make good relationships, lead with value, help as many humans as you can, be kind, be interested in them, see what you can do, you'll have this wealthy account with so many humans that you have the privilege and the right and the opportunity to make withdrawals if and when you need them. And then they're just naturally going to give you what I call interest, because I'm going to get a phone call one day and someone's going to be like, oh yeah, John told me I should reach out to you because, and you're going to do that just out of the goodness of your heart because you like me and you know that I've always cared about you and that I've led with value and I've done good by you.
Yeah.
And that's just what human beings do.
Yeah, I love it. And think community, something to think about is everything Jeff is talking about is free, meaning it doesn't cost you any money to just connect with people and talk to them. Jeff, I love it. Congratulations on the book. I know it just launched and I'm excited to dive in and read it. And congratulations. Wait, let's do a quick speed round. You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right. Since we last talked, a book, a TED Talk, or an article that's had a big impact on you?
A book, Winning by Tim Grover.
Oh, I haven't read that one yet, but I love Relentless.
Yes. I just had him on my podcast and we were supposed to talk for 45 minutes. We went for an hour and a half.
Oh, I'll have to listen. Is it out yet, that one?
No, my show is going live in a few weeks. It's being
Okay.
syndicated by Entrepreneur, so we're just wrapping it up. So none of my shows are live yet, but you'll
I
have
didn't
to
think-
do
okay.
that one.
Well, I can't wait. I love Tim Grover. I love his work, and his book Relentless was also amazing. Best piece of wisdom you've ever received?
Ooh. How you do anything is how you do everything.
Yeah, that's a good one. Finish this sentence. One thing people can do to connect to their core values is?
One thing people can do to connect to their core values?
Yeah.
Live them every day.
Yeah, it's good. Think community. As you know, I'm a business coach. I work with successful people who are stuck. I get them unstuck. I love this podcast because I get to have guests like Jeff on who can share their path, their journey, their wisdom to continue with my mission to get you unstuck. And Jeff, you said a lot of great things today, and I always enjoy talking with you. But think community, I just want to extract one thing, which is just remember we're human beings talking to other human beings, and everything is, give and take. Open up your network, be kind, and connect with people, and don't judge a book by their cover and put a false quantitative value on someone and make an assumption, because you never know, how much you can help that person and how much that person can help you. Jeff, tell everybody where they can connect with you, learn more about you, and buy your book.
Go to Amazon. You can buy my book. If you can't afford it, reach out to me. I'll send it to you. JeffFenster.com website will be live very shortly. But until then, at FensterJeff on Instagram, Jeff at everbowl.com, or connect at JeffFenster.com. And you can text Jeff to 33777. Once again, that's Jeff to 33777. And I'll send you a free Network to Millions playbook, which is something that we kind of dissected from the book and made very simple. It's an easy to use PDF. It's free. There's no strings attached. Don't worry. We're not going to email you a bunch of stuff or anything. It's just a gift that I'm trying to give away. So again, you can text the word Jeff to 33777.
That's great. Jeff, thanks, man. I appreciate it. Congratulations again. And think community, if you want to connect with me, check out johndwaskin.com. Jeff, thanks. This was great. Appreciate your time.
Thanks, John.
All right. Thanks, buddy.